You know what's crazy? Most people aren't destroyed by what happens to them. They're destroyed by what they think about what happens to them. The real battlefield isn't out there. It's in here, in your mind. Every fear, every doubt, every what if, it's like a storm that never ends. And while we're busy replaying the past and predicting the future, life is quietly passing us by. It's time to stop. Stop drowning in thoughts that add no value. Stop solving problems that don't even exist. Stop living inside your head and start living in this moment. The only one that's real. Most of us believe that if a thought enters our mind, it must be important. We assume that because it came from within us, it deserves attention, analysis, and emotional investment. But here's the truth: not every thought deserves to be entertained. The mind produces thousands of thoughts every single day, some meaningful, most meaningless. They drift in and out like clouds in the sky. Yet, instead of letting them pass, we grab onto every one, replaying, dissecting, and amplifying it until it becomes something much bigger than it ever was. This is how overthinking begins, not from external chaos, but from our inability to separate what matters from what doesn't. Your thoughts are not always your truth. They are echoes of your fears, your conditioning, your insecurities, your memories. Sometimes they come from exhaustion, sometimes from old wounds that never healed. You can't stop thoughts from coming, but you can stop them from controlling you. Imagine your mind as a room with an open door. Thoughts will keep walking in, but you get to decide who stays. You don't have to serve tea to every negative idea that visits. You don't have to give energy to every what if that whispers in the corner. Most thoughts are simply guests passing through. Don't turn them into permanent residents. There's a strange illusion that thinking more means we're being more responsible or more intelligent. In reality, excessive thinking often masks fear. We think and think and think again, hoping to find certainty, a guarantee that things will turn out exactly the way we want. But life doesn't work like that. The more we think, the more we feed doubt, the more we analyze, the more we paralyze ourselves from action. Overthinking is not a sign of deep intelligence. It's often a symptom of deep distrust. Distrust in ourselves, in others, and in life itself. Learning to ignore certain thoughts is not negligence. It's emotional maturity. Think about how we treat digital noise in our lives. When we see spam messages, we delete them. When we receive random notifications, we swipe them away. We don't argue with them. We don't open them. And we definitely don't let them dictate our day. Yet when mental spam arrives, thoughts like, "You're not good enough. What if you fail? What will people think?" We entertain them as if they carry wisdom. We replay them, debate with them, and let them drain our energy. The moment we start treating useless thoughts like junk mail, we reclaim peace. You don't owe every thought your time. You owe yourself your sanity. The art of selective thinking is the art of inner peace. It's learning to pause and ask, is this thought helpful or harmful? If it's helpful, use it. If it's harmful, release it. Every time you choose not to engage with negativity, you strengthen your mental discipline. This doesn't mean you suppress thoughts or deny reality. It means you stop feeding what doesn't serve your growth. The mind thrives on attention. Whatever you feed grows. Feed fear and fear expands. Feed calm and peace multiplies. You become what you focus on. Guard your focus like treasure because it is. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. When you stop identifying with every passing idea, you begin to experience true freedom. The noise quiets, the clutter fades, and clarity emerges. Thoughts will always come. That's their nature. But you decide whether they lead you or simply pass through you. The moment you realize not everything deserves a thought, you unlock a deeper kind of power, the power to choose peace over chaos, wisdom over worry, and presence over noise. We spend so much of our lives trying to control every detail, every outcome, every person, every situation. We plan, we predict, we prepare for every possible scenario, believing that if we can just keep everything under control, we'll finally feel safe. But that illusion of control is one of the greatest sources of suffering. Because no matter how hard we try, life doesn't always follow our script. The truth is, the more we cling to control, the more anxious we become. We start micromanaging our relationships, our careers, our futures, even things far beyond our reach. And when they don't turn out the way we expect, frustration consumes us. The need to control everything doesn't bring peace, it steals it. There's a deep insecurity behind the desire for control. It's the fear of uncertainty, the fear that if we don't hold the reins tightly enough, life will collapse into chaos. But what if the chaos isn't outside us? What if it's inside us? What if the constant need to predict and protect is what's really exhausting us? The truth is, uncertainty is not our enemy, it's our greatest teacher. It humbles us, stretches us, and invites us to trust something greater than our plans. The universe doesn't ask for your control, it asks for your cooperation. You can't predict every wave, but you can learn how to surf. That's freedom, not in holding tighter, but in learning to flow. Control is an illusion dressed as security. We think that if we can control people, they won't hurt us. If we can control outcomes, we won't fail. If we can control the future, we won't be disappointed. But life keeps proving us wrong. People change, circumstances shift, and plans fall apart, not because life is cruel, but because it's alive. Life is movement. It evolves, it surprises, it tests. When we resist this movement, we suffer. When we surrender to it, we find peace. Surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's saying, I don't have to know everything to trust that everything will be okay. That's the kind of faith that liberates. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Control works the same way. The more you grip, the less peace you have. Sometimes, the best way to hold on to something is to stop forcing it. Let people be who they are. Let situations unfold naturally. Let life surprise you. When you stop forcing outcomes, you begin to see beauty in spontaneity. The way things align when you stop interfering. Freedom is not found in managing every detail. It's found in learning to breathe through the uncertainty, knowing that you can handle whatever comes. The irony is that when we stop trying to control everything, we actually gain control, not over the world, but over ourselves. We become calm in chaos, grounded in uncertainty, and unshaken by what others do. The real control lies in our response, in how we choose to react to what happens. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you sail through it. You can't control people's opinions, but you can control whether they define you. You can't control every challenge, but you can control whether it breaks you or builds you. That's where real strength lives, in inner stability, not outer manipulation. And when you finally release the obsession with control, life begins to feel lighter. You start realizing how much time you wasted trying to perfect things that were never meant to be perfect. You see how many moments you missed because you were too busy managing the future instead of experiencing the present. Freedom isn't about having power over life. It's about making peace with not needing to. The moment you stop trying to control everything, you begin to experience life as it truly is. Raw, unpredictable, and beautifully real. We spend most of our lives either replaying the past or rehearsing the future, yet both are illusions. The past is gone. It exists only as memory. The future hasn't happened. It exists only as imagination. The only moment that is real is the one you are living right now. But ironically, this is the moment we ignore the most. We postpone our happiness, telling ourselves we'll feel fulfilled when we achieve that goal, when we earn that money, when we fix that relationship. But life isn't waiting for us to be ready. It's unfolding right here, in every heartbeat, every breath, every glance, every sound. The present is not a stepping stone, it's the destination itself. When you think about it, the present is the only space where life actually happens. You can't breathe yesterday's air, and you can't inhale tomorrow's. Every experience, every emotion, every miracle you'll ever encounter is happening now. Yet, we trade this living, breathing moment for the ghosts of what was and the fantasies of what might be. We replay conversations that can't be changed, and we stress over scenarios that might never happen. This mental time travel robs us of the only thing we truly own, this instant. Every time you drift into regret or worry, you abandon your life for an illusion. You stop living and start existing inside your head. The mind loves to wander because The present moment is too simple for it. It wants drama, complexity, stimulation, something to chew on. But the soul longs for stillness, for the quiet magic that exists when you're simply here. Think of the moments that have truly taken your breath away. A sunset, a laugh with someone you love, a song that moved you to tears. In those moments, you weren't in the past or the future. You were fully alive in the now. That's what presence feels like. Not passive, not boring, but deeply fulfilling. The more you anchor yourself in the present, the more you realize how rich and complete it already is. The past can teach you, but it shouldn't trap you. The future can inspire you, but it shouldn't control you. The problem begins when either one dominates your mind. Regret is just a story you keep retelling yourself, and anxiety is a story you keep predicting. Neither are happening right now. The moment you realize that, you gain power. You start seeing that your energy, your attention, and your emotions are being spent on something that doesn't exist. Bringing yourself back to the present isn't about ignoring life's responsibilities. It's about reclaiming your power to act now, not to endlessly think about when. When you live in the present, even small things feel meaningful. You taste your food instead of just eating it. You listen instead of waiting for your turn to speak. You see the color of the sky, the sound of laughter, the warmth of connection, all the tiny details that make life extraordinary. The present moment deepens gratitude because it reveals how much you already have. You stop chasing happiness as a future event and start experiencing it as a current state of being. You realize that peace isn't hidden in some perfect future. It's hidden behind your constant thinking about the future. And perhaps the most beautiful part of living in the present is that it brings clarity. When your mind isn't bouncing between what was and what could be, you can finally see what is. Decisions become easier because they're based on reality, not fear or fantasy. You begin to respond to life instead of reacting to it. You stop rushing, comparing, and chasing, and instead start experiencing. The present moment becomes your home, the one place where you're no longer lost in thought, but found in life. And the more time you spend here, the more you understand that this moment, this breath, this heartbeat is the only thing you've ever truly had. Anxiety often feels like an invisible weight, a restless energy that traps you in your own head. You think and think, hoping that one more thought will bring clarity or control, but all it brings is more confusion. Overthinking creates motion in the mind, but paralysis in the body. You feel like you're doing something because you're figuring things out, but in truth, you're stuck in the same mental loop. The mind is a master at convincing you that thinking is progress, yet nothing changes until you move. Action is the antidote. The moment you take a step, even a small one, the fog begins to lift. Because movement creates momentum, and momentum silences fear. The reason action is so powerful is that it forces the mind to shift from speculation to experience. When you act, you're no longer trapped in imagination, you're grounded in reality. You stop wondering, what if, and start discovering what is. Every step forward replaces uncertainty with information, and that information kills anxiety. You stop fearing failure because you're too busy learning. You stop fearing rejection because you're too busy growing. Action brings you back to the present, the only place where fear loses its grip. Anxiety lives in the future, in the land of what might happen. But the moment you take action, you return to the only space fear cannot exist, the now. People often say they're waiting until they feel ready, but readiness rarely comes before action. Waiting to feel confident before you move is like waiting to get warm before you light a fire. You move first, and the warmth follows. Confidence is a result, not a prerequisite. The truth is, most of what we call anxiety is simply unused energy. Energy trapped in the mind because it hasn't been expressed through the body. The solution isn't to think your way out of it, but to act your way through it. Write that message. Start that project. Go for that walk. Make that call. Every small action releases pressure from the mind and turns uncertainty into motion. Action also brings clarity, something overthinking can never do. You can sit for hours trying to predict how things will go, but you'll never know until you actually do it. Thought without action leads to speculation, action leads to revelation. When you take steps, even imperfect ones, life starts responding. You begin to see what works and what doesn't. You learn, you adjust, you evolve. Meanwhile, those who keep waiting for the perfect moment stay exactly where they are, trapped in their own theories. Action doesn't guarantee success, but inaction guarantees stagnation. The only wrong move is not moving at all. There's also a psychological magic that happens when you act. Your focus shifts. Instead of analyzing your emotions, you start channeling them. Instead of asking, "Why do I feel this way?" you ask, "What can I do about it?" That shift from rumination to responsibility transforms your mindset. You stop being a victim of your thoughts and start becoming the director of your life. Every small act of courage, no matter how insignificant it seems, rewires your brain to associate action with empowerment, not fear. Slowly, anxiety loses its dominance because your mind learns that doing something is safer than doing nothing. And perhaps the most overlooked truth about anxiety is that it cannot survive in movement. Fear thrives in stillness, in delay, in hesitation. The longer you wait, the louder it grows. But the moment you start moving, even in uncertainty, fear begins to fade. Action interrupts the cycle of overthinking because it gives your energy a direction. It transforms worry into work, tension into focus, paralysis into purpose. When you act, you're telling your mind, "I'm in charge now." You reclaim your power, not because everything becomes easy, but because you remember that motion, not thought, is what creates change. Fear is the quiet thief that steals more dreams than failure ever will. It sneaks into your mind in small whispers. What if you're not good enough? What if it doesn't work? What if you lose everything? And before you realize it, those whispers become walls, trapping you in hesitation. Fear convinces you that safety lies in staying still, in doing nothing, in waiting until you feel ready. But here's the truth: fear doesn't protect you, it paralyzes you. It makes you trade possibility for comfort, growth for familiarity, and courage for control. The irony is that everything you truly want in life, love, success, peace, fulfillment, exists just beyond the borders of fear. Faith, on the other hand, is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. It's the quiet voice inside that says, I don't know how, but I believe I'll find a way. Faith is not blind, it's bold. It doesn't deny the storm, it simply believes there's a way through it. When you replace fear with faith, your energy shifts from anxiety to action, from doubt to determination. You stop needing certainty before you move, and you start trusting that clarity will come as you go. Faith doesn't eliminate challenges, it gives you the strength to face them. It doesn't make life predictable, it makes life possible. Fear thrives in the unknown, but faith transforms the unknown into adventure. Fear looks at uncertainty and sees danger. Faith looks at the same uncertainty and sees opportunity. The difference isn't in the situation, it's in your perception. Both fear and faith require you to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. Fear believes in the worst. Faith believes in the best. That's why the battle is not about what's happening outside of you. It's about what you choose to believe inside of you. Life has a strange way of meeting you at your level of belief. When you expect disaster, you find reasons to panic. When you expect purpose, you find reasons to persevere. What you focus on expands, and faith focuses on possibility. One of the greatest tragedies of fear is how small it makes your world. It shrinks your dreams, silences your voice, and convinces you to settle for less. You start living cautiously instead of courageously. But faith expands your world. It reminds you that you are part of something greater, that there's meaning even in the moments that don't make sense. Faith doesn't always give you answers, but it gives you peace in the middle of questions. It's trusting that even when things fall apart, maybe they're actually falling into place. When fear says, "What if it goes wrong?" faith replies, "What if it goes right?" That single shift in mindset can change everything. Fear loves control, but faith loves surrender. And surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the illusion that you have to figure it all out on your own. It's understanding that there's a rhythm to life, a timing to everything, and sometimes your only job is to trust that rhythm. Faith teaches you to release. what you can't change, and focus on what you can. It reminds you that you're not walking alone, that something greater than fear is guiding you forward, even when you can't see the path clearly. When you live with faith, uncertainty no longer feels like a threat. It feels like an invitation to grow. The truth is, fear and faith cannot coexist. One will always silence the other. Every time you choose fear, you close a door. Every time you choose faith, you open one. And you don't need to have unshakable belief to start. Even a small spark of faith is enough to light your way. You just have to begin. Take the step. Speak the truth. Move toward what matters. Faith doesn't promise a life without struggle. It promises that you'll never face that struggle powerless. And the moment you start living with faith instead of fear, you stop surviving and start truly living. Perfection is one of the most beautiful traps life can set. It disguises itself as ambition, discipline, and high standards, but behind its polished surface hides constant dissatisfaction. The pursuit of perfection tells you that no matter what you do, it's never enough. There's always one more thing to fix, one more detail to perfect, one more step before you're finally ready. You start believing peace will come once everything is flawless. But perfection is a moving target. Every time you get close, it shifts. You work harder, push further, and still feel incomplete. The endless chase for perfection is not a journey toward excellence. It's a slow erosion of joy. Peace, on the other hand, is not found at the finish line of perfection. It's found in acceptance. It's the ability to say, this moment as it is enough. Choosing peace doesn't mean giving up on growth or settling for mediocrity. It means understanding that your worth isn't measured by flawless outcomes. Perfection is about control. Peace is about trust. When you chase perfection, you live in tension, afraid to make mistakes, afraid to look imperfect, afraid to fail. But when you choose peace, you create space for imperfection, and in that space, real growth happens. You learn, you evolve, you breathe. Peace allows you to progress without punishment. The need to be perfect is often rooted in fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. We've been conditioned to believe that love, respect, and success must be earned through flawlessness. So we wear masks. We hide our scars. We filter our lives, hoping to appear unbreakable. But perfection disconnects you from others and from yourself. People don't bond through perfection. They bond through authenticity. Peace comes when you realize you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love or success. You just need to be real. Imperfection is not a weakness. It's proof that you're human, alive, growing, learning, becoming. When you chase perfection, you live in constant comparison. You look around and measure yourself against others, their achievements, their appearances, their timelines. You start thinking, I should be further along by now. But peace reminds you that life is not a race, it's a rhythm. Everyone's journey unfolds differently, and the beauty of yours lies in its uniqueness. Perfection demands competition. Peace invites connection. When you stop competing with others, you finally begin to cooperate with yourself. You start appreciating your progress, however small. You stop rushing towards some imaginary ideal and begin embracing the sacredness of the process itself. Perfection says, I'll be happy when. Peace says, I choose to be happy now. That single shift in mindset changes everything. The more you chase perfection, the more you postpone joy. You convince yourself that happiness exists somewhere in the future, after the goal, after the validation, after everything looks right. But peace is found in the present moment, in doing your best and letting that be enough. It's not passive or lazy, it's powerful. It allows you to give your all without destroying yourself in the process. Peace is not about lowering your standards. It's about raising your level of self-compassion. The pursuit of perfection creates pressure. The pursuit of peace creates presence. When you choose peace over perfection, you stop living in performance mode and start living in alignment. You start realizing that mistakes aren't failures, they're feedback. Every imperfection becomes a lesson instead of a limitation. You move through life with more ease, more gratitude, more joy. The noise in your head quiets because you no longer need to prove your worth to anyone, including yourself. Peace doesn't demand that life be flawless. It invites you to find beauty in its flaws. And once you make that choice, to let go of perfection and embrace peace, you begin to experience life not as a test to pass, but as a gift to be lived. So today, make a choice. Not tomorrow, not someday. Right now, choose to stop overthinking. Choose to breathe. Choose to live. Because the truth is simple. Life isn't happening in your thoughts. It's happening in front of you. And if you keep overthinking, you'll miss the very life you were meant to live. Stop overthinking. Start living. That's where peace begins. That's where life begins.